The 2010s decade will be over in 4 months. What do you think people will remember this decade for? The social media explosion. And the 20s will be the implosion. We're already sick of ourselves. It's going to be so weird saying the 20s. Harambe lives in our hearts forever. Peace be upon his name. Social media is fucking insane. It gives the people so much power, and yet it also has so much power to manipulate the people. I don't like this realization. The 90s are soon 30 years ago. Just think, 30 years before the 90s was the 60s. Maybe it's just me being old, but the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s each seem like distinctly separate periods. The 90s forward feel like one long period. I grew up during the 90s. And for some reason, maybe because Y2K was such a big deal, I just never really thought past the 2000s when I was a kid. Like, I knew I'll probably live to 60 plus, but just never occurred to me that I'll live through another 20s or 30s. They just sound like years in history books to me. It didn't even cross my mind to me until reading this post. The rise of the smartphone. Everyone has access to the internet and can voice their opinion towards the world at any moment, with all the negative effects that it brings. IMHO. This is the biggest one. The iPhone came out in what? 2007. It was a solid year or two before you had traction there. Now, phones have pretty much replaced most people's home computers for menial tasks. I'll tell you this. 2012 was the year the majority of the internet users were on phones. And not laptops or desktops. So the 2010s is the year where the smartphones changed everything. Suddenly kids and old people and tech-illiterate people came to the internet, and it's changed everything. Real headlines trying to outdo The Onion. That's never going to happen. The Onion headline about the president causing a controversy by drawing on a map with a Sharpie still cracks me up. I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. My favorite is still marijuana overdoses kill 37 in Colorado on first day of legalization. That got shared all over my social media for like the whole year. That is the most Onion way of putting it. Kudos. Greater than my generation is going to be known for wanting to die and memes. Guess we can replace generation for decade. We're the Doomer generation. Not the millennials. Or maybe that's Gen Z. IDK. It's all a mess right now. Doomer generation LMAO. The meme renaissance. Chapter 7 * memes * were the quintessential millennial mode of expression. Akin to the hieroglyphics of Egypt and the cuneiform tablets of Sumer. Early 21st century internet savants populated their Facebook feeds with fan favorites such as lolcats and Velociraptor. As the trend caught on, memes diversified and developed, getting adopted by such institutions as politics, academia, and postmodern avant-garde expressionism. As memes became more sophisticated, so too did their influence over society. The charged political landscape ignited a trend of weaponizing them for political use, culminating into the bloody ** meme wars of 2028 ***. At the rate memes are evolving, the meme wars will begin WAAAAY sooner than 2028. Started off as image macros, ended as screenshots of tweets. Also from viral videos you'd understand to surreal meme humor. People are gonna reminisce about how good the 2010s were. They may not seem good now, but just wait to see what the 20s have in store for you. Oh no. cool_aid_man.png. Honestly, this happens with anything that happened 20 years ago. I can find forums from the 2000s saying that the 2000s suck. Just for a decade later for them to miss it so much. Nostalgia is just a stupid fad. When the 2030s roll around and people are nostalgic for the 2010s, I'll just laugh in their faces. Anytime I get nostalgic over the I remind myself of that time when I was 12 and unsure if my dad was alive or not on the 9th of November 01. Then watching us invade a country over non-existent WMDs 2 years later. And then watching a lot of my friends' parents lose their jobs in 08. The were an awful fucking time. Social media, influencers. Netflix, streaming, it was available before 2010. But didn't get reliable until after. Swipe dating apps. The word online dating and dating sites are now swapped with the phrases dating apps. Obama, Trump. People will remember social media. But I have a very strong feeling nobody's going to give a shit about these influencers anymore in the future. Obama, Trump from 10 now feels like it's been 2 separate decades during the one. In the US, at least, it's easier to see eras as presidential administrations than as calendar decades, helps with what to call the early 2000s. 2. Bush, Obama, and Trump have all felt like distinct epochs. The death of traditional media. Printed newspapers and periodicals, broadcast television and radio are fading. And while digital music way predates the 2010s, it took until this decade for pop stars to stop selling albums. They aren't tallying CD sales anymore. They're counting unique streams. Their death will be in the 20s. They were still huge in the 10s, but began losing their revenue and popularity. I feel the final nail will come sometime around the halfway point. Looking forward to this thread being unearthed in 2029, smiley face. I hope y'all are doing better than us. 2029 seems like 100 years away, but 2009 to now flew. I hope I'm done college by then and have a job or will be in some trouble lol. The incredible rise of misinformation and irresponsible knee-jerk reaction choices on very serious topics. The ability for social media users to quickly destroy someone's life when they have a lapse of judgment. We did it Reddit. That's not new at all. Why do people think fake news and hysteria is a new phenomenon? It was only 15 years ago we went to war with Iraq because everyone uncritically believed the government and media when we were told Saddam was building nuclear weapons. For about 100 years in American history, every few months some black guy or immigrant would be baselessly accused of a crime and then an angry mob would come together to publicly execute him. 120 years ago, the so-called yellow journalists lied us into another war with Spain. You know how they say every new generation thinks they invented sex? Well, this generation thinks lying and dishonesty are some kind of new phenomenon, as well as gullible and hysterical reactions to lies and dishonesty. It's not. It's nothing new. From a design aesthetic standpoint, minimalism, flat design. Mostly due to the rise of tablets and browsing the internet on mobile devices. Clean lines. Simple colors like black, white and gray. TV commercials, early 2010s ads are backed by upbeat xylophone, triangle, whistling, hand-clapping music. Or people breakdancing or doing the worm to obnoxious dubstep music. The late 2010s have vivid colors and imagery. Vaporwave-style aesthetics, and loud over-the-top spokespeople talking fast in the middle of the screen. Think Captain Obvious from the Hotels.com commercials or Terry Crews from the Old Spice commercials. Entering a new golden age of automotive design. Almost every new car from the decade is elaborately styled. Car interiors with angular, intricate dashboards like the Ford Escape, Chevy Equinox or Hyundai Santa Fe. This might end in the 2020s as crash safety technology requires more new cars to look the same. And car interiors will replace dashboards and gauges with touchscreens, thanks. Tesla. A move away from chain restaurants and the rise of food trucks and locally owned restaurants that all feature string lighting. Outdoor tables with giant Jenga blocks, Edison bulbs, and a craft beer selection written on a chalkboard. All houses are painted in that Grieger color and have all white kitchens with that same white subway tile backsplash. There is probably a barn door, shiplap accent wall, and a fiddle leaf fig inside. Greater than a move away from chain restaurants and the rise of food trucks and locally owned restaurants that all feature string lighting. Outdoor tables with giant Jenga blocks, Edison bulbs, and a craft beer selection written on a chalkboard. In big cities, that is true. In smaller communities, chain restaurants are more prevalent than ever before. In southern Ontario, communities that had no Tim Hortons a decade ago but had a locally owned mom-and-pop coffee shop or diner now have Tim Hortons. Brighton, Ilderton, and Komoka are just 3 of those towns. It's very hard to find locally owned businesses in smaller communities nowadays. At least in Canada. The horrific turn the Area 51 raid took, resulting in hundreds dead and the unleashing of angry captive aliens upon the world to exact their revenge on humanity. Don't forget the military being defeated by swarms of Naruto runners, leading to new arms limitation treaties banning the use of the Naruto run in any armed conflict. They also banned anime as a result, which caused weebs to flood the streets of Washington. Waifu body pillows in hand, and Shinzo Abe to publicly cut all ties with the United States. No one could have predicted the butterfly effect of what ensued following the Area 51 raid. This will be in history books, if we survive that long under our new alien overlords. On the bright side, the aliens disguised as humans finally revealed their identities as a result. Elon Musk was no surprise. But I think we can all agree no one was expecting Todd Howard to be one. Opening up a lot of questions about the true nature of Skyrim.